Today, we are diving deep into those super long, kind of complicated ingredient lists you see on packaged foods. We're going to break down the science behind them so you can finally understand what's actually in your food.
You know the feeling, right? You're in the supermarket, you pick up a box, flip it over, and boom, you're hit with this wall of words you can't even pronounce. It feels completely overwhelming, but believe it or not, there's a method to the madness, and we're about to figure it all out together.
So, the big secret behind packaged food? Well, it isn't really a secret. It's science. It's all about solving the huge problems that come with making food that can travel hundreds of miles, sit on a shelf for weeks, and still be safe and tasty when you're ready to eat it.
At the end of the day, it really all boils down to three main goals. I mean, think about it. As we all moved into cities and our food started coming from farther away, food producers had to solve three key problems. Number one, keep the food safe to eat. Number two, make it last longer than a couple of days. And number three, make sure it still looks and tastes good. Pretty much every single additive has a specific job designed to tackle one of these challenges.
So, why are these things really in there? Well, the easiest way to think about it is that additives are just solutions to very specific problems. Like, how do you stop your bread from getting moldy? Or how do you keep your salad dressing from separating into a weird oily mess? The answer is in these carefully chosen ingredients. Honestly, the best way to understand all of this is to imagine a massive toolkit. Just a huge collection of tools where each one has a very specific function. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to open up this toolkit and look at the four main types of tools to see what each one really does. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to break down the four big categories of additives: preservatives, enhancers, texture agents, and antioxidants. Once you've got a handle on these four, you'll pretty much have the key to decode almost any food label you come across.
Okay, first up, preservatives. Their job is absolutely fundamental. They're here to fight against nature. For thousands of years we've used things like salt, sugar, and smoke to do this. Today, it's just a bit more scientific. These modern preservatives stop or slow down all those nasty microorganisms from growing, which seriously extends a food's shelf life, and most importantly, keeps it safe for us to eat.
And what's really cool is how specialized each one of these is. Take sodium benzoate, or E211. It works best in acidic stuff, which is why it's perfect for your sodas and fruit juices. Meanwhile, nitrites are absolutely essential in processed meats like bacon to stop some really dangerous bacteria from growing. And potassium sorbate? That's the go-to for stopping mold in things like cheese and bread. See? Each one is a specialist. Next, let's talk about the artists of the food world, the flavor and color enhancers. The thing is, the heavy-duty processing that food goes through to give it a long shelf life, well, it can strip away a lot of the natural taste and color. So these additives are brought in to solve that problem, to make the food vibrant and delicious again.
And this category is huge. You've got artificial sweeteners like aspartame that give you that sweet taste in diet drinks without any of the calories. Then you have synthetic colors like tartrazine, which gives candy that super bright, consistent color we all expect. And then, of course, there's the most famous one of them all.
Yep, let's talk about MSG. It gets a really bad rap sometimes, but its job is actually pretty simple. It dials up that savory, meaty flavor we call umami. It's what makes soups taste richer and what makes you want to eat just one more potato chip. It's a powerful tool for boosting that savory flavor.
All right, moving on to the architects and engineers of the food world. These are the texture and stability agents. They're all about how the food feels in your mouth. They solve annoying problems like keeping oil and water from separating in your salad dressing or stopping ice cream from getting all icy and crunchy. They make sure the product has the exact consistency you expect every single time. So let's look at a few. Emulsifiers like lecithin are literally the reason your mayonnaise stays creamy and doesn't just separate into a puddle of oil and vinegar. Gums, like xanthan gum, are what gives sauces and gravies that nice consistent thickness. And anti-caking agents? Yep, they're the reason your salt actually pours out of the shaker instead of just being one giant clump. And our last category in the main toolkit is antioxidants. Have you ever eaten a chip that's gone stale and has that weird kind of off-putting flavor? That taste is usually from the fats and oils oxidizing or going rancid. Antioxidants are like tiny bodyguards that protect those fats and oils, preserving the taste and quality of the food. And they're pretty clever. For instance, ascorbic acid, which is literally just vitamin C, is often added to fruit juices to stop them from turning that unappetizing brown color. Then you have the real synthetic workhorses like BHA and BHT.
These are incredibly good at protecting the fats in things like cereals and snacks from going bad. Okay, so we've talked about all the stuff that's intentionally added to food. But what about chemicals that get into our food by accident? It turns out some chemicals can actually sneak in from the packaging itself. And that's a really important part of this whole story. Two of the big ones you hear about are BPA and PFAS. BPA is often in the lining of canned goods. It's there to stop the metal from rusting and getting into the food. And PFAS are a whole class of chemicals used to make packaging grease-proof. They're the reason the butter from your microwave popcorn or the grease from your pizza doesn't just soak right through the bag or the box.
Now, PFAS have earned this pretty scary nickname, forever chemicals. And there's a reason for that. Their chemical bonds are so incredibly strong that they just don't break down easily, not in the environment and not in our bodies. This persistence is exactly why regulators are taking a much closer look at them, not just in food packaging, but in everything from raincoats to cookware.
So this is the big question, isn't it? With all these chemicals floating around, both intentional and unintentional, how do we know if any of this is actually safe to eat? Well, there's a very strict, highly regulated system for this.
You're reading a label and you see something like E211. It just looks weird. It looks intimidating, like some kind of secret code designed to confuse you. What on earth could it be?
Well, it's actually just that, a code. E-numbers, which are used all over the world, are simply a system to identify additives that have been tested like crazy and approved for use in food. So E211, that's just the official code for sodium benzoate, that preservative we were talking about earlier. It's not a secret. It's a sign that it's been regulated.
So how do regulators like the FSSAI here in India figure out what's safe? They use a concept called the Acceptable Daily Intake, or ADI. Basically, scientists figure out the absolute highest amount of an additive that causes zero harm in lab tests. Then they take that number and add a massive safety margin. Usually they divide it by 100 to set a limit that's considered perfectly safe for you to eat every single day for your entire life.
So, that long list of ingredients, it's not just a confusing mess of words anymore. It's a story. It tells you exactly how your food was made to be safe, to be stable, and to be appealing. And now that you know the language, you have the power to read that story for yourself. So, what are you going to discover on your next trip to the grocery store?